Hello, hello, hello. Here we are with the season one finale, episode 25, with the great Troy Burton, director, producer, artist, and entrepreneur. Waiting for him to come on now so we can do this thing. Um, we were rolling with it last night, but there was some mishaps, so we're trying to transfer it over. So we're doing this interview again. It was a very powerful interview. So I'm waiting for him to come on right now. Hopefully he should be connected any second now. Just waiting for him to come on and waiting for somebody to appear in here. Hopefully he'll be on any second now. In the meantime, how's everybody out there? Hopefully everybody's doing great. There he is, right there. Yes. Hopefully it should be working. Cool. It should be coming up any second. And I'm gonna tap it. Hey, hey, how
Hey.
are you? How are you?
How I'm
I,
fine.
I see it. You're wearing the
You see what
Royalties
I'm?
Melanin Man mask. Yeah, I see that right there.
Yep. I'm gonna bring this camera
Representing.
down. Bring this camera down just a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
See how that is. Is that better?
yeah. And you didn't see the shirt I had on last night, but if you can see this word, it's backwards
No.
right now. You see it says icon.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take this
And
off now so you can hear me.
yeah, and I wore this shirt last night and I'm wearing it again today because we had to redo it because of the mishap that happened. We're trying to
Okay.
transfer it over. I
Okay.
wore this shirt icon because to me, you are an icon. You're a local icon and national icon. So I wore this shirt in honor of you, Mr. Troy Burton.
Well, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Well, I switched shirts from yesterday. I'm wearing something else. Can you
Oh,
see it?
I see. Yeah, Fred Sanford and Sherman Hemsley. Who's that other person down there? Is
Uh,
that Grady?
no, that's who's that down there? That's Bang 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 John Witherspoon,
Okay, and is that Uncle Phil next to
Uncle Phil.
um okay.
You know,
Hey yo.
some greatness there, some great black men.
Oh yes, totally great black man. But you
Yep,
know, I do my little spiel to introduce the show. You know how it's gonna go. I
yep.
say this is the C note where we keep it 100 or 100, as they say here in Baltimore, as we say here in Baltimore, 100. And the real recognize real. And you know we got to give these fake mofos a side eye.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay, let me get in there.
you see you fake asses out there too.
That side eye and that
Yeah,
side eye
give
to
them
you,
both side eyes. Yes,
all you fake ones.
yes.
I'm gonna try to adjust this camera just a little bit more. There we
Okay.
go. I
In the
think that's
meantime, we have here Mr. Troy Burton, who was a Baltimore-based producer, director, and artist. And most importantly, he's somebody who does whatever the job requires to get the job done correctly. He received his training at Douglas High School, Morgan State University, Peabody Prep, and most importantly, through jumping in there and figuring things out on the job, gigs, experiences. You know what I'm saying? That's what you said, right?
yep.
and,
Got
and
got.
you have directed
Yeah, and
on
I wore
you
this shirt
directed for the
from
stage,
jumping.
you directed for film, you have produced your own productions using your own finances. You were
Yep,
once a Baltimore City's public school teacher
yep.
as well,
hmm
and you are now the executive vice president of Blue Velvet Soul Records and the road manager for the great internationally known singer, because she signed Miss
hmm
Mesa.
Yep, that's me. That's me. I'm a man who wear many hats, and I'm proud of
Mhm.
it. And always, just willing to say, hey, if I can get in there and learn something, I'll
Yes,
try it. Instead of
yes.
just saying I do one thing, I'm a man
Mhm.
of many hats.
Oh, you have to be, especially in this world today, and especially as Black artists, we can't just sit around and wait for other people to give us opportunities. It's all about building our own opportunities and building opportunities for us and our people as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Well, we're just going to jump right into it. I know one
Okay.
of the things you wanted to discuss because you sent me some recordings from your play, The Real Nigga Show. And
Oh,
when you sent me
you
when you
jumping right into it, huh?
when you sent me that message, the email, you said, I know you don't care for that word, but
Yeah.
let's talk about it and this and that. And I understood that. No, I don't like the word, and I explained right quick why I don't like it. I don't care for that word because I know that a lot of our ancestors were abused by that word, and for a lot of them, it's the last word that they heard as they were being lynched and burnt alive and everything. And the young brother Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed last year in March, whose murder they tried to cover up because we didn't find out about it until a few months later, like 2 or 3 months later, they tried to
Hmm.
cover it up. But it came out that one of those things that killed him said to him as they stood over his body, fucking nigga. So I
Yeah.
was just thinking to myself, that might be the last word that he said. But I understand how you're using it with the show, the Real Nigga Show, which you've done several times over the years and you switch it up every time, you
Hmm.
know. Um, because there's one person who I kind of let get away with that sometimes. And
Hmm.
we all know um, somebody that we all lost, uh, you know, last year, um, Martique Smith.
Monty Smith. Yeah.
He was my brother. He worked with me. He helped me out. The first time we did for Black Boys, he came and he choreographed for me because I wanted to do. I incorporated the song "Step Into the Bad Side" in for Black Boys when we did it, and he came out without hesitation to direct that. I mean, to choreograph that song for me. But one time I was doing um, Smokey Joe's Cafe at Arena Players. We were rehearsing for it, and back in 2016, and I was about to do the D.W. Washburn scene, the drunk D.W. Washburn in Smokey Joe's Cafe, and I said, "Hey, what's up, man?" I said, "You got anything?" Because EQ was carrying this bottle around with him, and they gave me a flask to be on stage with as D.W. Washburn, and he said, "Yeah, man, I got you." My nigga, and up. He said, "You my nigga," because he liked to say that, and he would catch himself because he knew I didn't like that word. He's like, "I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean. I know you didn't like it." And I'm like, "Man, I'm not going to trip about that with you." So
Hmm.
because I had that kind of connection with him, I didn't, go off on him about that. But there's one thing I don't like though, is because I got into a big argument with a couple of black brothers who wanted to tell me that they're fine with their little white friends calling them that word. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to let any white person call me that. I don't care how cool you are with them. They're not saying that to me out of respect for myself and out of respect for the ancestors. I'm not allowing a Caucasian to say that.
Yeah.
But what are you going to say?
Yeah, well, that whole show and the name and the concept, it's all something that it was a grassroots organic thing. And
Hmm.
and actually, let me just share with you how the whole process happened.
Hey,
We,
Stacy. Hmm.
is that
Somebody said,
Stacy?
yeah, Stacy
Oh,
was on there. And
Stacy, Ludabelle Gussaman Jenkins.
yeah, because she was in Smokey Joe's Cafe too that
Yeah.
when we did that.
And she was also in Ain't Misbehaving with you, right?
Yes,
Yep.
her and
Okay.
Katrina. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I saw that.
I first met Katrina back in the late '90s when I made my first big role there at Arena Players when Katrina played my mother in the Amen Corner.
Mm.
Um, Somebody said, "Hell no!" I guess that's to allowing white folks to say that word. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's Dickie. That's Nikki. I know Dickie is one of former youth theater, and
Hmm.
I see DJ Clutch is also in the house too. What's up, DJ Clutch? Um,
Hey.
but let me give you real quick about the background of a real nigger show. It
Hmm.
was actually it started one year I was teaching at Arena Players, was the youth
Right.
theater there, and
Hmm.
and there were some former youth theater members. I mean, uh, who actually approached me, and some current ones. They wanted to do something. These were young black guys in their teens, in their early 20s, and they wanted to
Right.
create something positive. And so, so I just stepped up and said, okay, naturally, that means I'm the mentor here. And,
Right.
without having a program or funding or anything like that,
Hmm.
I just said, I'm gonna step up with what I have and make it happen. So we did a series of workshops, and they came up with different ideas, and we all decided that we wanted to do a show that was similar to Intisaki Shange's for color girls. So when we thought about that and we started the whole process, once we started the whole process, we never had a name for the show. But one thing I found that was common in their writings was that the word nigger was used in the writings. So I said, okay, they're in these pieces. So and I thought about it. One way it was in a derogatory manner, and another way was a term of endearment. And then I said, we got something here. So once we started looking at it and looking at the history of the word nigger, the spelling of the word nigger, I said, you know what? I'm going to be bold. You know, that's what I do. And
Right.
let's call it a real nigger show. And they all
Mm,
looked at me like, whoa, we're not ready for that. I said,
I'm
no,
sure.
no. I said, no,
Yeah.
we're going, you all going to get ready for that. And then we decided we should put the structure to the show. I mean,
Hmm.
because we came up with all types of different names, but that name stuck. And also, I was thinking of something that would get people's attention, and also to simply make people provoke thought in people, make
Right.
people listen, and they did. So we
Hmm.
approached arena players about doing it, and arena players were a little scared of doing a show
Oh.
called a real nigger show. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
I can
Right.
understand that, especially
Yeah, I get
historically.
it. Yes.
But and they told me, they said, well, Troy, if you're going to do that here, you're going to have to change the name. And I was very
Hmm.
firm about what I wanted to do in the art, and
Right.
I also felt like I'm spending my money, so as a producer, so I'm going to produce it the way I want to. And so, I went to another theater and was able to get convinced the theater to allow me to rent the space to do it. And so I produced it out of my own pocket, going to work every day,
Right.
saving money, and
Yes.
and it's about empowerment. It's about Black men empowerment. So we did the
Hmm.
show. Show was very successful. We were asked to come back and do it again. We were invited to Wilberforce University. We did the show there, and so and I'm looking at it now, and we're what 18 years into it. In 2 more years, the
Hmm.
show will be 20 years old. And
Wow.
I'm like, and I've watched these guys grow up, and they've become very successful. Easy
Hmm.
Jackson, I mean, he was
Hmm.
fresh out of the Navy when he approached me about this, and
Okay.
and watch them to grow into their own. Robert Lee
Hmm.
Hardy, who's out in LA
Yeah.
working as a professional actor,
Hmm.
Joshua Dixon, who's here in Baltimore doing his
Yeah.
thing, and I mean,
Powerhouse.
yeah,
Yeah.
strong actors. Malik
Hmm.
Maloney was an original cast member, and Melvin Russell. And then I brought in to work with me a master. I brought in the great Robert Chu, who played
Yeah.
Prop Joe on The Wire. And also that was also a marketing technique for me, kind of like thing, because I having him as one of my best friends,
Yeah.
also having his name on the show, that helped sell
Hmm.
some tickets. So we've been able to kind of like do that show and change it and update it and do all kinds of things with it. And then come, we said, okay, we're going to do it in 2020. And so we
Hmm.
made start making the plans in 2018
Right.
and 19 and, working up things. And then, of course, COVID struck.
Yeah.
And then we said, how are we going to make this happen? And so I just said, you know what? We're going to jump out here on faith and be who we are as leaders in the arts, and
Yeah.
we'll do a live stream. And that's what we did. We did a live stream, and we did
Uh-huh.
it in August of last year when people were still running crazy about, oh, COVID is going to get us and we don't know what to do. And we just made some safety precautions, and we got it in. We did the show, and it was very successful, and I'm very proud of that piece. I think
Yeah.
when I leave this earth, that's one show probably will be in my obituary, a real nigga
Yeah.
show.
Like I posted the other day, and I posted it before in the past. I said one day we're all going to be ancestors.
Mhm.
And so how do we want to be remembered as far as what we've left behind for our people? Have we
Mhm.
worked towards trying to get our people free mentally and emotionally and physically from this racist system?
Well,
Or are we helping to contribute to keep us stuck there? I believe, right quick, I believe in also using theater to be thought provoking and empowering to our people. I'm not really trying to convince anybody else outside of us or anything, because
mhm.
a lot of other black theaters across the country, they tend to focus on trying to gain um, white acceptance. I'm personally not seeking white acceptance. I know you're not either. My thing, because I know our power lies within how we feel about ourselves as a people.
Yeah,
Our
I'm just
power
trying
to
to
right. Hmm.
I'm just trying to tell a story. I'm telling the
Right.
story. And in the show, we explore the word and how it is used, in a negative side and how it's been adapted to somewhat used as a term of endearment. I'm not going to say positive. I'll just say term of endearment, because
Right.
you see it, it's laced all in hip hop but my thing is to say, hey, I'm not here to make a major change with presenting this show. I'm just going to tell you a story. You make up
Right.
your own mind what direction you want to go in.
Hmm.
And I leave it up to the individual. And it's a piece of entertainment. And historically thinking, uh, theater was created, as from African storytelling and African folklore, and then it evolved to be in a piece that's where it's a way of protesting.
Hmm.
So that's my way of saying, hey, I got something to say and I want you to hear it.
Right.
Everybody got their own way of saying it. Some people say it through protesting in the street. Some people say it through writing books. Any way you have to speak in your own voice, this is my
Hmm.
way of saying, hey, I
Yeah.
want to
I
share something.
Yeah, I get it because I'm about using my artistry to try to reach out people, to be thought provoking to our people, and to also to encourage self-love between us,
Hmm.
Black
Hmm.
collective self-love. I'm very intentional on showing, not that it has to be perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect, but I believe that dysfunctional relationships have been glamorized and
Hmm.
made popular, and a lot of people see that dysfunctional stuff as being the normal way to go. So when they see somebody in a healthy relationship, they say that's not real. But I know a lot of black folks, black couples that have healthy relationships and they're not at each other's throats,
Yeah.
all the time.
But see, that's
Uh,
the beauty of us being artists is that the fact that
hmm.
we all have our own opinions and we all have our own strategies of expressing ourselves, and
Right.
we all there's a avenue for all of us to put our art out there and
Hmm.
and share how we feel and our thoughts and our opinions. So yeah.
Right. Right. So there was a really great show that you did back in 2016, 2015,
Mhm.
that I went to see like 3 or 4 times. It was at, obviously I was blown away by it because I came back so many times. It was called Ball and the Jack.
Mhm.
How did Ball and the Jack come about?
Well, Ball of the Jack came actually. I think Arena was looking for um, something to do with the jazz age because I think it's good to tell those stories. It's good to do
Yeah.
contemporary stories with contemporary music, but also about historical preservation. So they wanted
Hmm.
to do something relating to uh, jazz and jazz history.
Right.
And originally they wanted to do Yubi. And I told them, I
Okay.
said, if you're going to touch it, you better touch it right. If you're going to touch
Hmm.
things like jazz shows, you got to make sure, well, first
Oh,
of all,
yeah.
it costs a lot of money for the royalties. But also,
Right.
I'm a big person on, I got to have a live band. I have to
Oh,
have a
yeah.
live band. So the thing about it, I'm like, look, do you want to pay all this whole bunch of royalties and kind of like diminish how you can present it, or do I could create something for you? Because I'm a community theater person
Hmm.
at times, and I think sometimes we just got to go in there and roll up our sleeves and make things happen. So
Right.
Ball and the Jack came about where just saying, okay, you all have something that you want to present on your season. And so
Hmm.
I said, okay, I used my little, what I call Troy Burtonism. And I said,
Hmm.
the first act will actually be a history lesson.
Okay.
It will be something where we're going to talk about our people in a very artful way, and it's actually like it's a history lesson how African Americans became African Americans, and so we used various music styles dealing from uh, drumming and African singing in African tones, straight on up to field songs, work songs. So it was a music history lesson into dealing with ragtime and the swing band and big band sounds and all of that. So that was the history lesson, Act One, and it was the music history lesson as well. But Act Two, we ripped down the scrim and we revealed that
Hmm.
we had a live band with some wonderful Baltimore musicians, a live kicking band,
Yeah,
and
I wanted to be up there so bad with them. I wanted to be up there so bad. You had so much great talent up there, and that music sounded so good. The jazz with the great Tevin Brown and Robert Lee Hardy and Joshua Dixon and Tracy Jiggets. The Magical Negro, Tracy Jacobs, and
Uh,
Tiara Strickland, and
you can't forget
yeah,
Sandra Meekins. Don't forget
and Miss
Sandra
Sandra
Meekins.
Meekins. Oh yes, Mama Meekins. Can't forget her
Uh,
either. And Stacy said live band is the best. Yes, I agree.
yeah,
Live
yeah.
band is the best because she was in that Smokey Joe's Cafe production where we were singing with the tracks. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember Stacy or not. It was one night when the guys were out on stage. It was one of those songs we were doing on stage. It might have been Searching or the Buy Me a Ticket, one of those songs. And it was just the guys on stage, if I remember correctly. And that music got stuck. It got stuck one night. And so we were sitting on the stage looking crazy. Well, trying not to look crazy, trying to just sit there and look natural, waiting for them to get that music together. But that music got stuck. Like,
Hmm.
and it wasn't like a short period of time either. It got stuck for maybe like seemed like 2 minutes. And 2 minutes could seem like um a week when you on stage
Yeah, but see, the
like
whole
that.
thing of using live music versus what we call canned music, um,
Hmm.
the thing is, you have to have a really good sound design and a
Hmm.
sound technician when you decide to use recorded music for a show. It's just not get in there and play a CD. You really have
Right.
to have someone in there that knows about
Hmm.
sound design and know about uh, the whole idea of how to
I
make
agree,
that happen.
Stacey. Hmm.
And and actually dealing with the whole thing with that. Let me tell you a story real quick.
Okay.
Same theater, arena players, because we're
Hmm.
arena players for life.
Yes, we are.
And this was
Yeah.
years ago. This was in the
Uh-huh.
'90s. We were doing Dreamgirls, directed
Hmm.
by the late great Ed Terry, and
Hmm.
we were doing the song "Step Into the Bad Side."
Oh, who
And
are you?
I was CC in Dreamgirls.
You see, you don't perform anymore, and I'm gonna get on your case about that because
Yeah,
I don't get to
we'll
see
talk
you
about
perform.
that.
I've never really seen you do it. But yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
but we were and actually the wonderful actress from Baltimore, Tracy Toms. She was actually in the show, and so we were on stage together, and we got sang the first part where they sing "Step Into the Bad Side," and we got to that moment of silence, and Mr. Grigsby, I'll never forget him. He was the musical director, but he was also using orchestrated tracks that he had on
Mhm.
cassette.
Right.
And so for some reason the cassette wouldn't work. So we out there, we did the choreography and we frozen similar to what happened to you. And we heard,
Hmm.
and see with a cassette, that's even crazier.
Word.
We heard
Right.
click, 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 click,
Uh-huh.
click, click. Then we heard this deep tone, oh shit. And so
Right.
and so we're just standing there, Tracy and I, and we're like, and we could actually feel each other shaking because we were trying not to laugh. And so, I mean, it's that whole thing of when you use stuff like that, you gotta be skilled or don't do it. And like
Hmm.
I learned my lesson, and I've done a lot of tracks. A lot of the shows I did with the youth theater, I did with tracks. But one thing I made sure I did, they were on the computer. They were
Right.
on a computer. They were on a CD as backup.
Hmm.
So in that way you always have a backup. So as soon as if the CD didn't play, you're on the computer. If the computer didn't
Right.
go with the track, you hit it with the CD real quick, and that way you don't upset the show. But there,
Hmm.
various technicians have various techniques, but I prefer the live band. And going back to what we were talking about with Ball and the Jack, that I mean,
Hmm.
we had some wonderful musicians.
Yeah.
Justin Taylor, keyboard player,
Hmm.
Ralph Rogers on trumpet. Who else we had? We had a lot. Clarence Ward, saxophone and trumpet. I
Hmm.
mean, just a lot of great jazz musicians who normally don't do theater settings, but I brought them
Right.
into the theater, and when they got on that stage, and I mean, we gave a jazz show in the
Yeah.
theater, and there was room for improvisation. If somebody wanted to
Hmm.
break the band down a little bit, and like there was a
Right.
number that Robert Hardy and Joshua Dixon did, and they stopped the show. It was called "Rocks in My Bed,"
I
old
remember very
jazz,
well. Yeah. Hmm.
and some of that stuff was improv. The band was
Hmm.
following them, so it was like
Right.
they were in the tradition of Cab Calloway. They were leading the band. So I mean,
Right.
that was
And
fun,
you,
and
yeah, and you can't do that with tracks. You just
no,
stuck in a box with it with the track. And
no.
she
So
said earlier, Nikki said earlier, how did the music get stuck? It got stuck because I think they did have it on the computer, but there was a computer glitch.
yeah.
And it got stuck, and we were up there for like 2 minutes,
Yeah.
try not to show any expression.
and
Waiting for the
and a
music to
lot of
come on.
a lot of technicians, you do it many ways. You got it on your computer, you got it
Mm-hmm.
on you put it on a CD, you even can
Right.
put it on you put it on your phone, so you have three different ways of, you know, just
Yeah.
if you get stuck, long as you got those wave files. I remember when we were doing a nigga show, right in the middle of filming it, we had a glitch, and I had to email my sound person. I emailed him certain tracks, and he was able to pull it up and before, and you never knew. So technology is amazing, but you have to have skilled technicians. No shade to nobody, but you need
Right.
skilled technicians if you're going to do things like that in the theater.
Yeah, I agree. Stacy, I agree. Stacy says she's spoiled now. She wants the live band all the time. I
Well, we're
totally
gonna
agree. I
we're
couldn't
gonna keep you
imagine.
spoiled.
Right.
We're gonna
I couldn't have imagined doing Ain't Misbehaving with tracks. That would
Yeah.
that wouldn't
Wow.
have worked at all. But
I
we had a live band with Ain't Misbehaving.
oh,
It
see,
went
yeah,
well.
you gotta
So
have that.
so so why did you stop performing? And will you go back? Or will
Well,
we get to see you do your thing on stage?
I stopped performing because I there was a period where I did a lot of shows. I mean,
Hmm.
there was all through the '90s. I mean, all through the '80s and '90s. I did a lot of shows. I mean, I would shows back to back. Sometimes two shows at the same time, and it was like you rehearse one show and you're in another show in the evening. But I started to evolve in my
Okay.
career. And so,
Hmm.
when you're in a show, you like that. And then as an actor, and my whole training is from Peabody Prep and Morgan State
Right.
University, singing on Morgan State Choir and studying there. But
All
I
right.
start,
Classically trained.
oh yeah,
And you
um,
ain't using that. I'm gonna
yeah,
get on your case.
I
Go ahead.
yeah.
Hmm.
Most people don't even know this. I used to work with the Baltimore Opera and do
Wow.
some of
I
their
didn't know
operations.
that. Okay.
But but it's about and this is just for me. I'm speaking for
Hmm.
me. It's about evolving, and I noticed that when I was working on a lot of shows, I was making suggestions to the directors,
Right.
and all of them at one time. And there was a period of like 2 years. They kept saying, "You, Troy, you really need to direct. You need to start directing." And so I said, "Okay." And I tried it. It was something that it was very simple. I was hired for the Arena Players Youth Theater to be a music, like a vocal coach, music
Hmm.
instructor. And but
Okay.
when I came in the door that day, Sam Wilson said to Mrs. Orange, "Won't you let him direct? If you let him direct, I'm gonna sit this one out." So I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute." Ms. Orange said, "Troy, take this script and go on in there and work with them kids and direct this show." And and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." Just being
Okay.
hungry to learn new things and try, and did my first show with them. That was the first time I ever
Hmm.
directed, and that turned into a beautiful relationship with the Arena Players Youth Theater. I mean, beautiful. I really wish someone would do a documentary on that youth theater because it
Oh, that
has.
would be awesome.
I mean, do one on the theater, but
Yeah.
do
Because
one on the youth theater because the youth theater is the lifeline to the theater because that's where your young people come up and they adults and right now when you look at the world of the arts and what's out here, when
right.
Broadway was open, there are people on Broadway. Right now I went to Broadway to see like 4 or 5 shows last year for
Hmm.
youth theater performers, former youth
Right.
theater students. I turned on my television the other day and fell on the floor because Kim Exum was on there, one of the former youth theater students, in a commercial. I mean, I've traveled
Hmm.
all over. I've downloaded music. That youth theater, they've turned out so many wonderful artists, but not just artists, doctors, lawyers. I mean,
Hmm.
you name it. They got so many entrepreneurs. I mean, and it needs to be recognized because
And
these were
one of them.
kids.
Go ahead.
It needs to be recognized. So, and actually, here's another little tidbit. Um, the Arena Players Youth Theater was the group that gave Arena Players an international feel
Hmm.
because we went.
Okay. How
What
did?
was that? We there was Baltimore has a sister city program, and with Rotterdam, Holland, and they were looking for representatives to uh, participate in the
Mhm.
arts festival,
Okay.
and so Arena Players was selected, and and then Sankofa. Sankofa was selected to go over and perform. And I remember when the producers of the Sister City program was here. They came to visit the theater and all that stuff. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget this because, sometimes I can be a little ignorant, as they say. And I remember being in the dance studio working with the kids, and
Right.
I was in there and I heard this guy with this accent, and he kept saying, "No, no, 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 we want him. We want him, the colored director. We want that guy with ponytail, colored director." And
Colored. Uh-huh.
yeah, and I said, I was like, okay, are we in the what, 40s, 50s? So I turned around, I was like, "Excuse me," and Ms. Orange said to me, "Troy, he's from South Africa. They still say that."
Right.
So
Okay.
so it was cool, but we went to Europe, and I took those kids to Europe, and we did three productions, two
Mhm.
shows, one a children's show, one a main stage production, a piece that it was an original piece that we wrote,
Wow.
and then we did workshops,
Hmm.
and it was mind blowing because to see what we have to work with here in the United States in arts programming, as
Yeah.
opposed to what they have over there in terms of funding.
Yeah.
We are so behind the times. I mean, they believe over in Europe and Holland and some of those countries there, they believe in providing funding and supporting the arts. When we
Right.
opened our main stage show, we were like, okay, we had this very little small audience in this big theater. 2 days later, it was just everywhere because the people went out and they told people, and it was just
Right.
like, and they knew nothing of us. This little African American theater from Baltimore was giving it to the people of Europe. And that's my story about youth theater, taking arena players internationally. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
talk about that a lot, but they need to know.
Right. I've never heard about that story.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And one of my cousins was a part of the youth theater that you work with,
Mhm.
Eric Anthony. He's now known as Eric Anthony.
One of my
Um,
original, they are my children, all of them. All,
mhm.
I may have put the fear of God in them sometimes with my eyes, and yeah, there were times when I threw shoes all over the place and things like that. They'll tell you about that. Anybody in youth theater, they'll tell you about the throwing of the shoes because I'm passionate about what I do. Never been
Mhm.
abusive, but passionate,
Right.
and
Oh, there's a total difference.
I'll get on the stage and roll around the floor with them. Not at this age, but back
Hmm.
then I would, and
Yeah.
and working with Eric, I remember. I'll tell you a funny story about Eric. Eric used to come
Okay.
in and he was a little kid with them big
Hmm.
feet, and Eric
Hmm.
would he cluck, cluck, cluck all over the stage. And I said, this boy's going to grow up to be a triple threat. And as he grew
And
to
he
be
is.
a triple
Yes.
threat.
Mhm.
And I shouldn't tell us, but I will. I told Eric it was time for him to leave the youth theater because of his talent, his ability.
Okay.
And I would never tell a young person that, you need to leave, but it was time for him to leave and
Right.
expand to other things. And with that wonderful talent, and it was wonderful that he went to Broadway and did
Yes.
Lion King and
Broadway, Lion King,
Hairspray. He did all of those
a
productions,
lot. Yeah.
and I remember he came back one summer to work with us. Here he is on Broadway doing these shows, but he
Hmm.
came back home, out of the love of what we do here in Baltimore. He came back home and he was involved with the production and made sure the kids, knew about what it meant to
Right.
be on Broadway. So that meant lighting a fire.
Hmm.
That's what we do. We light fires. A fire was lit for me as a
Right.
young artist. I mean, when I
Mhm.
was 10 years old, and I said I was going to use props in this conversation. So my grandmother took me to the Morse Mechanic Theater, the production that Jeffrey Holder uh, directed, and Eartha Kitt was the lead. It was Timbuktu. I'll never forget
Okay.
it. Here go a prop. Here's the original program that I've saved all these years
Wow.
from
Uh-huh.
1979 from Timbuktu, and it's signed by Eartha Kitt.
And
You
it's in
know,
such great condition. Wow.
oh,
Okay. You
oh
took
yeah.
good of that. Yeah.
Oh no,
Hmm.
I have a plastic container for that. I don't play.
Hmm.
Here's a plastic container. Um, but I went to the theater with my grandmother, and as a kid, and sh when the lights went down and the orchestra started, and lights came up and the curtain opened and all of that stuff and the costumes and the lighting. I was down like this, looking up, trying to see
Hmm.
what was going on with the lights and the backdrops coming up and down and all that. And something, it was God in the building. God in the
Right.
building talking to me saying, hey, this is what you're going to do the rest of your life. I walked away from that production knowing what I was going to do the rest of my life. I was a kid. So I knew from working as an adult with kids, I had to give them that same experience, assist them in lighting that fire that my
Hmm.
grandmother did for me. So she never took me to the theater again. So,
Right.
but at the same time, she didn't have to because she did.
Hmm.
So,
I
you
don't.
know, go
I
ahead.
don't remember a specific thing that made me love the arts. It's just always been there. I remember from like a baby, practically, my mother telling me how I reacted when music came on the radio and stuff like that. So I've always been singing and acting since I was in elementary school, and I started writing plays and stuff when I was like 9 and 10 years old. So it's always been a part of me. And I also want to make it known here. Not every director has this effect on me,
Mhm.
but you. I watch you direct. I see what you bring, the excellence that you bring. And I have got to be directed by you
Okay.
one of these
Okay.
days before I got to make make that happen, definitely. Um, so I want to ask you about UB Blake.
Okay.
How long ago when you were there managing the place? How long ago was that? Um, how long did you stay, and when did you decide to leave, and why did you decide to leave?
UB Blake is a long story because
Mhm.
UB Blake, I mean, the first time I worked with UB Blake was in 1992. I
Hmm.
was I was working with Hugh Carey and Norman Ross, God rest his soul, who was a
Hmm.
great man of Baltimore, uh, hired me as a drama instructor.
Okay.
And for the summer program. So I worked as a drama instructor, and I think I choreographed the tornado that year. I'm not a trained dancer, but I got in there.
Hmm.
I ain't never scared. So I got in there and
Hmm.
I choreographed that
Yeah.
tornado for Hugh Curry, and we moved on, and and
Right.
so that started my first time at UB Blake, and I had a very tragic accident that that kind of changed my life, and then so that kind of took me out of working for a while, and then
Yeah.
um,
You should tell that right quick because you
oh,
said that's something that we share, and I never knew that until last night.
yeah,
Um.
um, actually we were working on the show, and we had professional backdrops, come
Hmm.
up and down for the fly system, and that's the system that make just the backdrops
Right.
go up and down, and the the the, the fly system wasn't secure, and I didn't know that, and I was backstage, and as the fly system was taking up all of the backdrops, it collapsed, and it collapsed on me, and I got hit with over 2,000 pounds of weights, which was 500 pounds
Oh my
each,
God. Wow.
and they said it hit me, and I flew up in the air, and I hit the ground, and there was one weight that hit me in my head right here, and it crushed my skull, and it split my head from here to here and down here. And so the whole
And you're
thing was
here,
in my head. And
and
they
yet
said,
you're here.
"Oh yeah, God is
After
good."
all that, that is amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
they said my skull went down into my brain like that, stabbed me in my
Mm.
brain. And
Hmm.
what they did was they had to lift the skull up and they cut the rest of me and pull the face down and pull the rest back. After they lift the
Woo.
skull up and sew me back up. So around age, what, 22, 23, I had a facelift. So
Hmm.
that's the way I look at it. I look at it for hey,
In a humorous way, yeah. This it's good
yeah,
that you can laugh
you
at
know,
something like that. And I didn't never knew that you suffered a brain injury, which you let me know last night is something that we share because I suffered a brain injury as a child too. And as an adult,
mm,
I've had MRIs done and SCAT scans done, and they told me that I wasn't going to be able to do anything because they said half of my brain was damaged. But of
ooh,
course, I haven't let that stop me. I still keep going. I'm writing and directing and and acting and trying to dance. So I got stuff I'm
living in
doing.
your purpose. But see, that was
Oh
that
yeah.
was God. That was God because with my brain injury, um, They told me that I might not walk again.
Mm-hmm.
I said, not going to hear that. My mother said the same thing. She said, "Oh, I done prayed over him. He's going to walk again." Um, they told me that I will have seizures. I've never had a seizure in my life.
Mm-hmm.
They told me, and there's one thing that, as a result, there are two things as a result. Sometimes I stutter, and I have to work to control that. That's number one. And number
Me
two is
too.
that my hair never grew back here, so that's why I started wearing my hair back in a ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
It never grew back, So I just said, thank God. I got up and walked away, but I knew I was walking in my purpose. The fact
Right.
that the fact that I was healed from that, I knew God was directing me to walk in my purpose. And I kept on walking. People telling me, "Oh, you got a case. You got a case. You should be taking care of the rest of
Mm-hmm.
your life and all that." I said, "I'm not going on disability." I said,
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep moving." And that
Right.
accident was in August, and I was out from August to December, just recuperating. And in January, I got up and I auditioned for Once on This Island and got a role in that and got on the road and kept on going.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were
Well,
doing 8 shows a week, and I'm healing from brain surgery. And I said, look at God,
wow.
y'all. You know,
Yeah. See, I was almost not here myself, not just because of the brain injury that I suffered, but something happened like over 15 years ago where I had fell into a depression because one of the times where I was harassed and assaulted by racist cops and stuff like that. And I ended up in a hospital. I was having kidney issues. And I was in this hospital in South Carolina that I didn't know at the time had a reputation for killing off black people. I found out later, that that's what they do because it's what they call a teaching hospital. It's
mm-hmm.
one of those teaching hospitals. And so they basically use their black patients as experiments and guinea pigs without their permission. So when I was in this hospital, I was steadily getting worse and worse. One of the doctors came in my room one morning and said, "You know what, Mr. Ransom, you're not doing good. You need to start making funeral arrangements." He actually told me that, told me I should start planning my funeral. And when my
Mm,
mother came to the hospital that morning, she said, "What's wrong?" And I told her what was wrong. And
mm.
she went to him. She didn't cuss or anything like that. She just said, "Who do you think you are to tell my son that he's going to die?" She said, "You're not God. And furthermore, he may outlive you." But anyway, I started getting worse and worse. My kidneys were bad because what they was doing to me, they took bone marrow from me, which was very painful. They didn't even numb the area. They didn't have any reason to take bone marrow from me. Like I said, they was using me as a guinea pig for their med students. Because I woke up in the hospital down there several times, and there was a whole bunch of them standing around my bed looking at me with clipboards like I'm a science project. But I was getting worse and worse. I couldn't walk on my own. I was so weak. And I told my mother, I said, if I don't get out of this hospital, I'm not going to make it.
Wow.
So when we informed them that we were leaving, they tried to stop us, right?
Mm,
And they said, we don't think you should move him because if he does, he's not going to survive that trip back to Baltimore. And if you do take him back to Baltimore, he should go back in an ambulance. And when he gets there, put him in a hospice and wait for him to die. Of course, my mother didn't do that. She drove me back here in her car. I was in horrible shape. It wasn't pretty at all. I lost control over everything and got back here. She drove me back here through a hurricane. When I was in the hospital here, the church that I was involved in here in Baltimore, the pastor at the time, I was in such bad shape that pastor came to the hospital and gave me last rites.
mm.
He gave me last rites because everybody thought that I was going to die. Like I said, I couldn't even walk anymore on my own. Everything. I was in such bad shape. And after I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, I started getting better and I
Wait a minute,
started
wait.
getting stronger.
Let me ask you this. When you gonna write this story? When you gonna write
That
this story?
that particular story, or my story in general, my
Your
life.
story, what you just told me. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, well, sometimes
I
some things are so personal we don't tell it because actually this is the first time that I ever told my story about my head injury.
hmm
Some of my closest friends, they lived it, and so, there's some people who know me don't even know anything about it, but this is the first time
right.
I felt compelled enough to share it, and I
No, I'm
always
honored that
believe.
you shared it here. I just want to say one more thing about my situation right quick.
Hmm.
They told me that I was going to end up on dialysis and die, right?
Hmm.
That was over 15 years ago. I've never done a day of dialysis.
Right.
I've never done a day of dialysis. But if
Right.
I hadn't listened to that spirit that's inside of me and say, if I hadn't told my mother to get me out of that hospital,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be here right now.
But you live in your
But
purpose.
but I said, Mama, I need to get out of here. If I don't get out of here, I'm not going to make it because they were using me as a guinea pig down there, and they were trying to kill me actually. And so I had sense enough to say I need to get out of here. Um, and when I came back here to Baltimore, like I said, I was in such bad shape that my pastor at the time gave me last rites. That's how bad I was. But here I am today, and that was over 15 years ago, and I've never done dialysis. I've never
Yeah.
done a day of dialysis.
See, uh, we got that. We got that.
Yeah.
And you need to write that story. You need to write that story because people need to hear that. And people need to hear what sometimes that doctors can't do,
Hmm.
you know. So I mean, I remember because we our stories are very similar. I remember
Yeah.
my mother telling me about they were telling her that you might as well prepare for him, you know,
Mm.
make arrangements. And my mother she kept saying nope, nope, nope.
But this doctor actually said that to me as a patient, and he said that to me because he wanted me to lose hope and
I
die.
couldn't say
You
I
know,
couldn't say nothing because the hole in my head was big as my
right?
hand. It was right here. It was
Yeah.
so. But wow, whew. Okay, I think we need to move on from that. Let's
So
can we say hi
what?
to some people who are here?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I think
I
I
said
see
hi to Stacy and
I think I
Nikki
see
Joy and who else?
I think I see Kenyatta Hardison somewhere.
Oh, it's Kenyatta.
Yep, I think I
If
see her
so, hey
and Jeff
Kenyatta.
and Jeff, crazy Jeff. But anyway,
What
let's
Russell?
no
Jefferson
this
Russell?
no this is another friend of mine.
Okay, okay. So what made you decide to leave UB Blake? How long were you there again?
Okay. Oh, well, I'm talking about UB Blake. But that was my first thing working with UB Blake with
Hmm.
the injury. I came
Right.
back to work with UB Blake in 1994. Um, they were doing a series of programs throughout the city, and they invited me back to teach. So I taught drama,
Okay.
and they were impressed with my administrative skills that they asked me to be a site coordinator for several sites. They
Hmm.
had at different schools around the city. They had one Dunbar High School, Douglas High School, I think Penderhughes Elementary on Pennsylvania Avenue. And so I was the site coordinator as well as teaching. I was getting all the money. But
Right.
out here, making sure these after school programs happen. And so
Yeah.
one of my mentors, I have many mentors, Kamay Calloway Murphy, the great Kamay
Cam
Calloway Murphy.
Calloway's daughter. Yeah.
Yep. They were developing the building on Howard Street, and
Okay.
they needed a program director. So she asked me, would I leave teaching in the school system and come over and take on the program director? So, like I said before, I ain't never been scared to jump. So I
Right.
left teaching school full time, and then I went on over to the UB Blake Center to be the program director. Now, during that time, I was still teaching at Arena Players because youth theater was my heart, so I always maintained that. Because,
Mhm.
hey, when you're in show business, you got to keep more than one gig. So I always kept two or
Right.
three gigs, keep them cash flowing. So
Hmm.
I became program director. Um, in 2005, Miss Murphy decided to retire, and I became the executive director. So and that was something new for me because that meant I was it. I had to write grants and be responsible for fundraising. I had to develop programs. I just had to be responsible for running a building, a big ass
Right.
building, and
Hmm.
I learned a lot of new skill sets while I was there doing that. Um, and then one day I remember saying to Robert Lee Hardy, I said, Robert, this is not fun anymore. I said, I don't know if I'm going to be here much longer to do this because, I got tired of begging BG&E not to cut the lights off and making sure the
Right.
insurance on the building was paid and all that kind of stuff. And there were times when I was by myself doing a lot because when you
Hmm.
work for a nonprofit, you got to have a working board. And the
Right.
majority of the time where I was at UB Blake, I had a board and some great individuals, but they were
Mhm.
not known for fundraising,
Right.
in a big way. So that left me to do a lot of the fundraising. I mean, the jazz room that I built over there was the previous director before me secured a bond bill
Mhm.
to uh, to develop, but I didn't know anything about it. I was director for like 3 or 4 years, even before I do it. And I found a file that said Barn Bill. And after some investigation, I said, wow, we got to do something. So I came up with the idea of the fourth floor UB Live to build a jazz space. And so all of that was challenging because I was gaining new skills. So,
Mhm.
and then but after a while, when you're the person who has to constantly do everything for the organization, and I felt like, I mean, I took the place as far as I could take it. You
Right.
know, when you're dealing with especially an African American institution,
Hmm.
and we're always, they give us the brown pennies. You know, I guess they
Right.
figure it's brown, so give them pennies. So, and it's
Yeah.
always struggling to keep the doors open, and and be innovative and trying to do a lot of things, because at UB Blake I established a lot of partnerships,
Uh-huh.
working with, like right now they have over there Muse 360. That program, I was instrumental in assisting them at jump starting and get to a level where they're operating. The dance programs, the Kira Kalehi African Dance, Dance Baltimore,
Hmm.
the Urban Coal Arts Society. I mean, there are countless programs that I was instrumental in helping these people who would come to me. Your program, your theater
Yeah.
company, I always had an open door policy about working with people.
You
And
beat me
so,
to it because I was just about to thank you before we got off UB Black. I was going to thank you for believing in my vision. Me and Tamika, thank you for believing in the vision that I had, but for using the arts to empower our people, to inspire self-love within our people, because that self-hatred that plagues our community,
props.
yes, that's our T-shirt, y'all. Please hit us up, Roy Hughes Melanin Manor, to get your T-shirts. The logo is like puzzle pieces that represent the different shades of our people. And our slogan is putting us back together one play at a time. So our theater company focuses on Black unity and using the arts to heal the division amongst our own people, because we always tend to worry about being divided from other people outside of us. We need to first work on the division amongst us,
Mhm.
the division amongst the Black collective first. We need to heal our division first and bring us
Mhm.
together first and foremost.
But
You,
I always believe in community groups. So that's
mhm,
why you had a home. When you came to me and said, "Hey, I got this company and I want to do my own theater and I need
right.
space," I said, "Okay, I'll make sure you have a home." When all of these different people came to me looking for a space to do their programs, we had, what was that? Be Free Fridays, one of the
Okay.
continuously oldest, whatever, open mic poetry in Baltimore City that existed for years, uh,
Hmm.
produced by Love the Poet. And I mean, there was all of these programs, and I'll share this with you. I see now that I'm not there, I can tell all the stuff. Um, but
Okay.
when the Motor House was developing, they came to me and they said, "Troy, you have something different that's not in Baltimore City. You've developed something, and you kind of been like grassroots, kind of making things happen for a lot of young entrepreneurs who are trying to do their own and establishing an incubation program." Because there were no organization that was doing that. They'll rent you space and try to take all your money, but they won't work with you to help you
Right.
develop your program by giving you space. And
Yes, I know.
and and I mean, you got some great organizations that do exactly what they do and
Hmm.
serve their mission, but there's nothing for people in Baltimore where if you wanted to start up something, if you had an idea. So I became that man. I kept an open door policy
Right.
for young creatives who had ideas, and say, hey, let's make this vision happen. And so that was the whole thing. And the Motor House said, Troy, this was before they even start working on the building over there on North Avenue.
Hmm.
They said, we're going to steal your idea. And I said, well, go ahead and take it. You do it
Right.
your way. I've done it already. You do it your way.
Hmm.
And so I kind of helped serve on the first committee to establish the Motor House in terms of the layout and stuff like that. And after that, I said, okay, I'm going to stand back and see what y'all do your thing. And that's what I do. And I go back to what I said earlier. I like a fire was lit in me, and I light fires.
Right.
Not, just a figure of speech, but lighting fires
I
in
know what you
people
mean.
with, and getting
Right.
people up, to empower them. I call it
Yeah.
owning your own ass, as
Yes.
opposed to,
And that's and you told me the hashtag owning your own black ass.
yep, hashtag,
Because
yeah.
Hashtag oh your old black ass. That we're about not, waiting for a seat at somebody else's table. But we're about building our own table.
Yeah, in
And
periods
care.
in
Right.
throughout history. I remember Shirley Chisholm saying that in the '70s about, you know, don't if you they don't let you have a seat at the table, you bring your own chair. And that
Mhm.
was something wonderful for that time. But now
Right.
we've gotten to a time where we don't care about your table. We're gonna
Right.
build our own table. We're gonna build our own
We build our
chairs.
own chairs,
We're going to bring
everything.
our own people, and it's about
Hmm.
empowering. And that's one of the
Right.
reasons why I started producing my own productions. Or if I come in and work on a project like Arena Players, that's my home
Hmm.
base. I love them, will always love them. When I come in to do a show, I make sure that I bring resources, because they may not always have the money, because I know how it is about getting grants and stuff like that to produce a show. So I go in there and I say, guess what? And I told my cast from Pearly this. Anything that's wrong, you see wrong here, we need to work to make it better. So if I talk about it and it's going to be something wrong, I'm going to do what I can do to make it right. If I have to go out and find sponsors, or if I have to
Yes.
put my own money up, it's the
Mhm.
same thing you do when you do a show. You
Yes.
know, we make it happen. So,
Um, I want you to tell that story right quick about Ozzie Davis and why directing Pearlie was so important to you
oh wow.
in
Pearly, I
production
mean,
of Ozzie Davis.
Pearly is I call my blessed show, because
Mhm.
it was a blessing to work with the people who were involved in it. And it was the last show that I directed. Well, it was the last show publicly that I directed before COVID, before the
Mhm.
shutdown. I mean, we literally closed maybe like a week or two before they shut everything down. So,
Right.
and but I did Pearly back in 1990. I was a
Okay.
part of Pearly during my days of doing dinner theater. I used to do a lot of dinner theater in Baltimore,
Okay.
and so this was the Harbor Lights Dinner Theater, and Cheryl Reinhardt. She was Caucasian lady who was the director of the show,
Yeah.
and I was kind of thrown by that, because a lot of times you say you want a black director for Pearly, but hey, she good, she good, but she was good friends with Ozzie Davis, and she was actually, I forgot the character. She played Olivia Buchanan. If anybody watched One Life to Live back in the day, she played Olivia Buchanan on the show, the soap opera One Life to Live.
Hmm.
How do I know that? Because my grandmother used to watch it.
Right.
And so she directed the show, and she was friends with
Hmm.
Ozzie Davis. She brought Ozzie Davis in, and he came in to see us, rehearse and everything, and I'll never forget this. He said to me, "So you're playing Gitlow?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Visually, I would never imagine you playing Gitlow, because I was younger then, smaller.
Hmm.
I had a little curly fade back then.
Hmm.
And probably my skin probably was lighter. You get old, sometimes you get darker, but
Hmm.
hey, that's age. But uh, he said, but I'm gonna tell you something. He said, I love what you're doing with it, the things that you're doing with your eyes. You're telling the story with your eyes on stage. And he said, and you're very close to Sherman Hensley. You remind me of him with some of the
Right.
things that you're doing. And
Hmm.
I was just blown away, Ozzie Davis, I'm like the great Ozzie
Yes.
Davis,
The
Ruby Dee.
legend Ozzie Davis. Yes. Ruby
But
D.
he, but here's something I did. I remember after we finished the rehearsal that day, and he had like a tan trench coat on, and there's a picture of it somewhere on Facebook. Um, he got up to finish his coffee after the rehearsal. People were getting autographs and taking pictures and all that stuff. There was a pad of all of his notes, and
Okay.
so I saw that pad sitting there, and I said, "That's going to be my souvenir." And
Hmm.
so after we said goodbye and it sat there and everybody got ready to leave rehearsal, it was still sitting there. So I just kindly
Right.
picked up my script. I kindly picked up the pad, stuck it in my script because hey, it's a pad.
Right.
And it was his notes. So I held on to, like, just like I held on to the program from Timbuktu, I held on to the Ozzie Davis notes. So years later, Arena Players, this is 20 years later, asked me to direct Pearlie. You
Yeah.
know, it was right after Rodney Orange had passed, and I had promised Rodney Orange that before he passed that I would get involved with the Arena Players again because there was a time my UB Blake years that I didn't direct too much at Arena
Right.
Players, and so I got back involved, and I knew I was going to use the notes,
Mm-hmm.
and I used his notes because I knew that I said the man who wrote the script came in and gave us notes. So we're going to be
Right.
true to his work. And I'm going to use
Mm-hmm.
his notes that he had on the show. And I did. And there's a wonderful picture. I'm glad Stacy is here.
I
There's a
respect that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there's a wonderful picture of Stacy and Antoine and Katrina and Nate and the four main characters. And it's all of them using their eyes. And it
Mm-hmm.
was exactly what Ozzie Davis had told me back in 1990, is, about using your eyes. And I
Right.
was just honored that the actors in my production, they got that. And they would, and so
Mm-hmm.
they paying respect to Ozzie Davis as an ancestor.
Yes.
And there's one photo that I love, and it's just with Nate as Gitlow with his eyes closed, and Stacy as Nudie Bell Gussie Mae Jenkins. She's looking around and she's giving you that side eye, all of that, and the position of them and everything. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it was a blessing. That was a blessed experience doing that show at Arena Players.
Yeah.
I mean, and just a couple other. It was a blessed experience because it was the 50th anniversary of Pearlie.
Right.
And so we wanted to honor that. So we did this. I told you I'm bringing props. This was the program from we brought Melba Moore.
That's Melba Moore. Yes.
Melba Moore, who was the original Ludi Bell Gussie Mae Jenkins. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I told them at Arena I was going to bring her in for the opening night. And they looked at me like, okay, whatever, Troy. Melba Moore was there opening night. She
I
sat in the
remember.
audience. She loved the show. She came on
Mm-hmm.
stage. She talked. She sang. She looked at Old Captain and she said, "Old Captain, you was better than the guy on Broadway." And it was
Oh,
it was it
okay.
was a, and
Uh-huh.
she loved the cast. She said,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me, she said, "I never seen Pearlie before. I mean, I've never sat in the audience watching it." And it's like, okay, you come in, you
Mm-hmm.
do a guest appearance on the 50th anniversary, all that.
Yes.
She sat in the audience like it was I paid for a ticket and I'm here, and she enjoyed it.
Wow.
And so it was like, hey, you got to do something. You got to let people know this is our theater. It's a
Mm-hmm.
historical theater. We're bringing in a legendary actress, and we're
Mm-hmm.
making stuff happen. And some of it has changed a little bit because when you get me as a director, one thing I do is I bring the variety of my experiences. And
Right.
sometimes I'm, like I said, I'm not scared to jump.
Mm-hmm.
And and this is I got more props, autographed copy from Melba
Okay.
Moore from Pearlie opening night. But I never was crazy about this image advertising the show. But I understand
Yeah.
that it was,
I don't
that
like that
period.
either. Right.
But I
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to do something for 2020. That was 2020 then. So I created this image for Pearlie and didn't
I
put
remember
nobody
that.
on it. And I
Uh-huh.
created it. If I could tell the story as a director, I like to think out of the box. And if I could tell the
Mhm.
story of the show,
Yeah.
these images tell you the whole story. And
Yeah, that
especially
picture speaks volumes.
and especially
For
the
sure.
times that we're living in. So that's what I do as a director. When you think of doing something like the Digger Show, when you think doing something like Pearlie, think pieces that are thought provoking.
Right.
I want the people to feel the whole experience when they come into the theater, because a lot of times I feel like audiences can be lazy, and
Right.
they walk in and they're like, "I paid my money, now entertain me," and I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you need to
Hmm.
be a part of the experience. So when we
Right.
did Pearlie, I started the show in the lobby while the people were coming in by having some of the cast come out as if they were going to Big Bethel, just like it's a good old Baptist church. Like people will
Right.
greet you, and we going
Yeah.
to church. We having church. So that whole thing. And
Hmm.
so, and it made people listen. because now you're just not here to sit back and watch the show. You're an active participant, you know.
Yeah, you got them
So
involved. Yeah.
so if I'm thinking theater is a form of protest that I
Hmm.
use, you the audience, you're going to be an active participant. First of all,
Right.
the image that you see, it's going to stir something. When you see a bull whip and a Confederate flag and cotton and a sign that
Uh,
says colored and white, and all that
uh-huh.
stuff, when you see
Yeah,
that, it stirs something up in you. But
most
then
definitely.
but it becomes a cultural experience when you meet the cast. you
Right.
know so that's my style of when I direct the play. I like to add my own little nuances to the script,
Hmm.
and I like to think out of the box, you know
Yeah.
and then it makes it wonderful because, like, some of the actors who had actually done the show before, you haven't done this version of it.
Right.
So so
That's why I want to be directed by you.
well, you got
You
to come you could have been in Pearly if you came to the audition. You didn't audition.
I had something. What was going on at that time when you had those auditions and I missed it? I
Mm.
I might have been doing a show myself during that time. That's what it
we had
was, I think.
we had
Yeah.
four sets of auditions.
Hmm.
And one thing I do know, when I'm doing community theater, I work with people in their schedules.
Right.
I will rearrange the show if I have to make
Hmm.
sure the right people you got, because I've been also accused of working with some of the same people all the time. And
Hmm.
then so I was like, no, that's not true. I am a skilled director. So I told people to shut up. Donald
Right.
Owens announced those auditions, and
Right.
the people who come in the door,
Hmm.
if they are right for the role, I'm going to cast them. And I would say at least 90% of Pearly were people that I never worked with before.
Right. I
You
mean,
know,
I get sometimes why directors sometimes work with the same people because you can trust them. You know they're going to show up. You know they're going to deliver, but at the same time, you still got to take a chance and
Stacy
give
said,
other people a chance. Right? Mm.
Stacy said you were in a show called Tez. She said you
I
was in a
was,
show,
yeah,
so
I
you
was
must
in
have.
a show at that time. Yeah, I was doing something. I think I was doing for black boys who considered homicide when the streets were too much. That was in February, right? 2020.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I was rehearsing for Black Boys and also rehearsing for Raising in the Sun at the same time.
Oh,
So I,
see,
I had two shows I was rehearsing for. That's why I couldn't
but it's
come to
coming.
that.
You've
Yeah,
already said it. You put it out there. So when the world decides it wants to open up, we'll do
yeah.
something. We'll work together. I mean, there'll be plenty of shows.
Oh yeah, definitely like that new one that you're working on, the Afro futuristic show. I definitely want to
Yeah,
be up in that joint with the funkadelic music, the funk music.
man, that's going to be something. That's something. Yeah, because I feel like doing something original now.
Hmm.
And it's just that the only thing is I got to find the right people to work with, in terms of uh, producing it, because you
Right.
get I don't mind spending my own money, but
Hmm.
sometimes it can drain you when you spend your own money to produce shows all the time, or if you go in and co-produce with a theater. So I'm looking for the right team to help me produce the show. And based on my history, I think I could find people who will be interested in investing in an original musical.
Oh
That
yeah, people would definitely back you with seeing your work and your reputation, they would definitely back you. And Kenneth said he loved Pearly, and he
mm,
also said for Black boys who consider homicide when the streets were too much was incredible.
okay.
I
Well,
wish you could
thank
have
you
saw
for.
that
But we were
as
doing
well.
shows at the same time,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I
I mean,
know.
that's what happens when you doing it right. You
Right.
know.
To see, because I would have loved to have seen what you thought of my directorial skills, what I did with that show for Black Boys with the electric chairs on stage and everything, and having
Oh,
us we had chairs made to look like electric chairs, and then at the end of the show, but towards the end of the show, we ripped the electric chair part off of it, and it became like King's Thrones, right?
I
It
remember
became like,
because you were asking me, because we were talking about. No, I remember. Yeah, yeah. Because I remember one day you was rehearsing at the Playhouse, and we were in
hmm
the office, and we were talking about the chairs and the thrones, and I
hmm
told you I would keep my eye out. Yep. So
right,
you couldn't. Yeah, but
yeah, and we added some stuff to it this time where I had the vision of having each guy on stage sitting in the electric chairs, like doing everyday regular business, because as black men in this country, we're being crucified just walking down the street, minding our business.
Mm-hmm.
So there was somebody, one of the guys was representing Trayvon Martin. So he was sitting in the electric chair with the helmet down on his head, and he was eating Skittles and drinking his Arizona iced tea. Somebody else had their loose cigarettes, was representing Eric Garner. I was
Mm-hmm.
representing Botham Jean, the brother who was killed in his apartment by that
Mm-hmm.
woman who claimed she thought she was at her coming to her
Mm-hmm.
apartment, and she shot him. And while when he got shot, he was sitting in his apartment eating ice cream and watching television. So Kenneth, who's on here right now, was showing his artistic skills, and he took some cotton candy and made it look like ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm sitting in the electric chair with the helmet on my head, eating this ice cream, acting like I'm watching television, like Botham Jean who got shot and killed while he was doing that. That's something that we did with the show. And George Bunton brought some youth there from the school that he works at, and they were really impacted by the show because we always do a talk back after each
Mm-hmm.
performance. We always talk back to the audience, and that talk back was like really powerful and made a great difference. But I want to talk real quick about two more things before I let you go. I know
Okay.
you're working with the Baltimore, well, the new Black Arts District,
Well,
the new
I'm
Black Arts.
I'm working with them only for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the consultants helping to develop the strategic plan
Thank
for
you,
the
Stacy. Mm-hmm.
for the Pennsylvania Avenue Black Arts District. Actually, I'm worn out because we just had a 4 hour retreat with the board of directors for the district today, like a half hour just before I finished up, got on here with you. So I'm like, okay, we still talking, but no. When I talk about theater, it's a whole different thing. But
Right.
that's a new initiative, and that's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be
Yeah.
it, it the Pennsylvania Avenue Black Arts District. We're going to get it right this time. There are a lot of
Right.
times in Baltimore where we don't get it right, but
Mm-hmm.
it's important for uh, Black people in Baltimore to have their own arts and entertainment district where they're
I
where
totally
they're
agree.
where their artists and creatives have their own space
Mm-hmm.
because we're always begging for space. Black artists,
Right.
black it's hard for black artists to have a home base,
Mm-hmm.
and so historically what Pennsylvania Avenue meant to Baltimore, the heyday of jazz, I think it was decided to put it there because of the historical, significance of that space. And so hopefully there could be a
Yeah,
new
with the
hope.
Royal Theater and everything. They actually want to rebuild the Royal Theater, I heard.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that effort, and hopefully it can happen. But that's going to take a lot of work, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
fundraising. But like right now, you have art organizations that are already over there. You have the Art Social Club,
Yes.
wonderful historical organization.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Jubilee Arts that's there. You have the
Right.
Pennsylvania the Bakery over there. So
Mm-hmm.
then you have some things, some landmarks, the Billie Holiday statue. So there's some things already there dealing with African American history that you could build
Right.
upon. So
Right.
the idea is to actually build a cultural center.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about that today, actually building a cultural center. So I want people to listen out for the activities. Go to their website, the Black uh, uh, is BAD, the Black Arts Entertainment District. Go to their website because they're having a wonderful event at the end of the month going into May, dealing with workshops for artists. And we
Right.
say Black artists,
Mm-hmm.
artists. And we want it to be Black artists. I mean, if somebody want to
Right.
slide in there and kind of do their own thing, that not necessarily an artist of color, we're not going to chase you away, but we got to
Mm-hmm.
have our own thing. Yeah, because
Yeah, we
white
need
folks,
our own.
they got enough around here for them.
Right.
Let us have something.
And
So
I and I'm putting in my bid. I'm putting in my bid to have Royal Hughes Mellon and Manor African Ensemble Theater located in the new Black Arts District. I'm
yeah,
putting that out there in the atmosphere because I
dope.
think it's the name says it all, that it's about us and building us up. So I believe that Royal Hughes Melanin Manor would be, that would be a perfect place for us to be, our home to be in the new Black Arts District.
But hell,
Definitely.
speak it. You already done said it. So now that you done
Yes,
said it, there is nothing to do but start making some moves. You know, and
yes,
and but it's a great initiative. If things can come through the way we are planning right now, it'll do something for the community because you can't do
mhm,
anything if you don't include the community.
right,
And it'll be something there, resources for that community right there, but also for all Black artists throughout the city,
yeah,
to be able to have a home base. So, support the effort. And I'm just happy to use my skill sets to actually help them write the strategic plan, and help them to build, and hopefully
mhm,
after we finish writing the strategic plan, I will maybe they'll let me do some programming. I don't want to work for a nonprofit doing
right,
full-time work and all that stuff. I don't want to do that. I've already been there, done that.
hmm,
But I would like to do some programming for them for, like some. It wouldn't it be nice to have a Black artscape in Baltimore?
yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely,
So okay.
yeah.
So and things like that. I mean, we're not saying that we don't want to deal with you all and we hate you and nothing like that. No, but we just want to take care of our own.
Well, look, everybody else has their own stuff
Hmm.
where they celebrate their people, and nobody else makes an excuse for it. We always feel like we got to stop and say, because we're trying to have something that focuses on our people, don't mean we're against anybody else. People just go and celebrate their own people, but we feel like we got to, you know, make that statement
But let me say
to make other
this,
people feel comfortable. Right.
and I know you're good about this, but you got to make sure you support.
Mm-hmm.
You got to buy tickets. You got to buy
Right.
tickets and support artists when they do. Don't ask to get on the guest list.
Mm-hmm.
Don't You gotta pay artists. If you're
Right.
producing something, you got to pay your artists. Even
Mm-hmm.
I, I even think personally, I think even in community theater that you might can't pay artists, but you can give them a stipend for gas money.
Look,
You
I
know,
believe I believe that also, especially when things like happen where, and this is not being against anybody or trying to be smart, but like myself and some other artists have been called on at the last minute when
hmm
other people drop out of shows, and then they call you 2 weeks before the show open and ask you to learn this role because they know that you can memorize lines fast and you can learn a role fast. So they always call on you and ask you sometimes a week before the show and 2 weeks before the show, they'll call on you and ask you to do this role because somebody left them hanging at the last minute.
yeah,
But they
you
don't
should.
offer. But they don't offer you anything when they do that. Right.
It's nice to get a pat on the back, but sometimes you got to say, hey, I got to invest in my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you invest, that's one thing. When I do a show, I invest in the cast. When I first meet with the cast, I always do a cast meal. We
Right.
sit down, we break bread together, we get to know each other, and we start that way. And that's me investing in the people that I'm going to be working with. I make sure that they are happy and they're taken care of because like I may not be able to pay you, but
Mm-hmm.
at least I can offer you something, some love, and offer you
Right.
something, a good meal, and
Mm-hmm.
and just show you that I respect you and I honor you and
Right.
I appreciate the work that you're doing here. So
Yeah.
it's that, and that's the mindset that we got to get away from in Baltimore. We have some great artists here doing great work, and just because they're local, that doesn't mean that they're not of a professional mindset.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
that's one of the reasons why I brought about Royal Hughes Mother Manor. I mean, of course, the vision is to use theater to bring our people together, to bring some unity amongst us and love amongst us. But I also want Royal Hughes Mellon Manor to be a paid theater because this is a predominantly black city, and there should be black theater companies here that pay their talent. So
yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
definitely.
but it's a sign of the times. You
Mhm.
a lot of times when you have organizations, because I've worked with two of them, Arena Players and UB Blake Center. They're both organizations that's been around years. Arena Players started in the 50s and UB Blake started in
Mhm.
1970. And
Right.
sometimes when you have the older organization, it takes a little longer for them to come up to maybe the new century a way of doing things. So people like us, we have to get in there and we have to work with them, like
Yeah.
we have to, and say, hey, and that's why, like the last two shows I did at Arena Players, I didn't mind going out and raising funds to help
Hmm.
produce the show, because
Right.
that helps move us into another way of doing things,
Right.
and keeping up with the times. Because if you blink and don't keep up with the times, you'll see other companies coming along. And we have some fantastic African American companies that are doing theater in Baltimore.
Art-centric
Oh
is
yeah,
one of them. Yeah, they're great.
Art Centric is smoke. They smoking everybody right now with what
Yeah.
they doing.
Hmm.
And so you got to be able to step the game up,
Right.
And I say that,
Stacy said Stacy said she felt appreciated and compensated.
oh, I love her because
Right.
she came.
Yeah.
Stacy came in there and gave her all in all.
Hmm.
She came in there and just said, and Stacy and Katrina, best friends on
Hmm.
stage. It was easy to direct them because
Right.
chemistry was already there.
Right.
And so, and as a director, when you're working with, I worked with Katrina before and Once on This
Hmm.
Island when I directed
Hmm.
at the Playhouse. And and then Stacy auditioned, and I said, "Oh, that's Ludi Bell right there." And
Hmm.
then best friends, I mean the chemistry. So it was like, y'all,
Right.
that's a blessing. That's a
Yes, it is.
blessing to have when you get and thinking, okay, I'm working with new people. I may have to work with uh, kind of like molding and shaping them to kind of like be what I need them to be as a
Yeah.
director. But because they chemistry they already had, and they have done shows at Arena, they knew how to work that stage, because Arena
Hmm.
is not an easy stage to work on.
Oh,
And
I know. Yeah.
Sam Wilson taught me the key to directing on that stage that a lot of contemporary directors now, they don't know the tricks to how to
Right.
direct the actors on that stage where the actor feels comfortable and the audience feel comfortable, because you have three audiences there.
Yeah.
But that's something else for a workshop. But it's,
Well,
go ahead.
one more thing I wanted to ask you before you go. I wanted to talk to you about you being the executive vice president of Blue Velvet Soul Records and managing the great singer Mesa, um, Mesa. Yeah.
You see
So,
how
and the fact that you know, she got so far as to be nominated for a Grammy, and you guys went to the Grammys, and how was that for you?
oh, wait a
You
minute,
know.
man. I told you I got props. When I come through the
Okay.
door, I have props. This is my hat I bought at the Grammys right after I had a chance to
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
walk down the red carpet and look at
Hmm.
Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I was like, "Hey, babe, hey, B, hey, Jay, how y'all doing?" And they were like, "Who is this black man?"
Who the
Just
hell is that?
you
Right?
know,
Yeah.
walking down the red carpet of the Grammys
Uh-huh.
like I was
Yeah.
George Jefferson, because I was
Oh
giving you
God.
that. But no, Mesa Mesa is my best friend. We went to Morgan together. Um, we studied together. I mean, we were students where we would buy lunch, buy one sub, cut it in half. She would take half, I would take the other half. That's how we were.
Wow.
We developed a bond, and we talked about our careers um, while we were at Morgan. No matter whoever go out here and make things happen, the other was going to support. We were going to, and
Hmm.
she has supported me so many times. Shows that I've done, she's paid for the shows that I produce. She's been my executive producer, and I've been there with her, working with her,
Yeah.
helping her produce what she do. But Mesa has always been an innovative person,
Hmm.
and after she did Stevie Wonder, and then she went to Incognito, and then went out on her own to do her own thing. Um, Mesa has always had ideas that she would give to the record company about how things should go and all that. So she's always had that entrepreneurial spirit when
Right.
for every record that she do. It's the same way
Yeah.
I work, where I'm gonna tell the director when I'm in the show, I'm gonna tell them how they should direct the scene. So we that's always been something wonderful. So I work with her in a couple other places, traveling with her, and so and because we're the best of friends, she trusts me. And when you're on the road, you got to have
Yeah. You're
somebody to trust, and
you're
because you,
you're you're her son's godfather too, right?
yep,
Yeah.
Chaz is my godson, and wow, watching him grow up is just amazing. He's grown up to be a beautiful, from a young boy to a beautiful man that's out here just,
Hmm.
respectful and just
Yeah.
lovingly and, the whole thing. And I'm proud to be his godfather. Um, but Besa, she asked me to be her road manager, go on the road with her, watch her back because, collect her money because you got to make
Right.
sure the person that's collecting your money,
Hmm.
they're not going to steal from you and all that kind of stuff because it still goes on in show business. I can tell you stories where we've done shows and I've gone to collect the money and they put cocaine and weed on the table and said,
What?
anybody in your band get high, stuff like that,
Hmm.
because I can give you all of this, blah, blah, and trying to take it out of the money. And I say, hell no. I move that stuff to the side and I collect the money and say, this is what
Hmm.
we're dealing with, you know.
Right.
And I like to say that I went to the Aretha Franklin School
Okay.
of show business.
Yeah.
You get your money, and so that's something, that I've learned. And I've been able to travel all over the world with her. I've been on every continent on this earth except Antarctica. And
Wow.
I
Okay.
mean, so working with my best friend has taken me everywhere. And then also, Mesa's in charge of her career, and so
That's important. Yeah.
she's in charge of her career, and she don't let the record companies slap her around and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
She's been true to her music.
Right.
She didn't have to, shake her boobs and little titty
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff or do anything foul.
Right.
It's all been about standing on the stage and singing from your heart and your gut. And so
Yeah.
after so many years, Mason decided to do her own record label because she wanted to own
Hmm.
her own ass too. So,
Right.
um, so she came up with the idea of doing Blue Velvet Soul. It was Blue Velvet Soul Records, named after one of her records, Blue Velvet Soul, the one that she got the Grammy
Right.
nomination for.
Right.
And you know, um,
Kenneth said congratulations on the Grammy nomination as well.
oh, that that
And
that was
and
that was that was awesome. But she
and
got nominated.
Stacy said Mesa is an awesome singer and just as kind and wonderful of a person.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
she never fell into that whole, you know, I'm a recording artist, I'm Grammy nominated,
Hmm.
I sang with Stevie Wonder and I did this and and
Right.
she's remained Mesa and that's because of her parents, the way her
Right.
parents raised her.
Hmm.
But she started her own record company, Blue Velvet Soul Records, and the first thing that she released on there was this. I don't know if you can see it. It was
Yeah.
live. She released a live record. We old school. We like albums, but this is not an album. This is actually CDs. Because us
Wow. Okay.
old school
Yeah.
people, we like to read the stuff on the
The
back of them.
credits and
Yeah,
all. Yeah.
we old school like that. So she released that on her record label. So she owned the masters from that. So
Right.
all the money comes to her, nobody else. So
It's
she's
important.
responsible for running the business part of it.
Yeah, because
And
Anita Baker is dealing with that right now,
yep, Anita
fighting to get
Baker.
her right.
Yep. And see, when record companies own you, they own everything about you. And
Yeah.
you may have to go on the road and sing your heart out forever and never retire because you know you're going to constantly owe record companies money. And if when you don't own your masters, Prince
Hmm.
really started pushing with that.
Right.
Prince, and I actually go back a little further, Ray Charles,
Yeah.
about owning your master. So these are black artists who was laying the foundation, saying, "Hey,
And I think
you."
Sam Cooke too, right?
Yeah, Sam Cooke did it too, and so
Hmm.
it's that whole thing of when you see what's happened historically, you kind of get in there, and so Mason she
Yeah.
decided she ain't scared to jump either. She will jump
Right.
on you in a heartbeat. She will jump. So what Mesa did was she started recording these songs. Um, I put some money in. She put her money in, and that's how you had Blue Velvet Soul Records. I got props. That's
Okay. I see.
that's our first plaque representing the record label.
Nikki
And it.
says she's old school too.
Come on now, come on.
Hmm.
But it feels good when you have to go to a production meeting or you know to talk about your own product
Your
and how it's
own
going to
shit.
sound.
Yeah.
She'll send me a song and say, I think I'm gonna release this and look at this, and and we look
Hmm.
at it because I've always worked with her in various capacities. I directed quite a few of her music videos.
Hmm.
Um, Duet she did with Stokely from Mint Condition. That was a wonderful experience because Stokely,
Right.
you think, from Mint Condition, Pretty Brown Eyes and all that,
Hmm.
dude, it was just a sheer joy to work with him,
Right.
because he was used to big budget videos and stuff like that, and we were putting our own money up, making it happen, and he worked with us on that. And I directed another video with her and Phil Perry that they did. And we talk
Yeah.
about,
I
oh,
remember. Yeah.
and I directed one video. Mesa always co-direct with me. Um, we
Hmm.
did Inside My Dreams, and that was
Okay.
something really special for me for that one because that was the first time I saw a video that I had a vision for
Yeah.
played on VH1 Soul. And when I sat back,
Wow.
and the record company, when they saw the video, they were like, "It's very artsy, and we don't know, and because it was in black and white, and it was very similar, which I still say Adele stole our concept because
Hmm.
when you look at Mace's video that came out before the song Hello, they're very similar in
Okay.
some ways, and but it was a theater director directing a music video. Record company said it's too artsy. VH1 Soul ate it up and put it in rotation. So I'm
Right.
sitting at home just, thinking, wow, we're actually doing things ourselves where you created, and I'll never forget how we created that video. We ain't had no money to do a video.
Right.
I put up some money. Mason went out and played a number and hit. And then next thing
Hmm.
you know, she played my address and
Okay.
she hit, and that's how we paid for that video.
Wow.
So,
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I say don't be scared to jump and invest in yourself because
Hmm.
it pays off. It pays off in many ways. Yeah, she played a number, and we paid for a video.
All right now.
You
I ain't
know,
scared.
so
Again, hashtag own your own black ass.
yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, those are the
Right.
things that I'm doing. Another thing that I'm doing, I've started my own company called Troy Burton Arts and Entertainment
Hmm.
Consultants because I'm taking everything that I've learned from arts administration through UB Blake and Arena Players and and being a road manager and all of that stuff, and I do some art consulting work. And if I started it just before the pandemic, and I was like, oh God, I don't know if it's just going to happen because of the pandemic, and but I stayed true to it. Then I got a phone call to come work on the Black Arts Entertainment District, as an independent consultant. So,
Yeah.
it was worth leaving UB Blake to
Right.
kind of start making my own things happen for myself. Stop
Hmm.
creating something where somebody just hands me a paycheck and I'm an employee and they own the content.
Right.
I own my own content. So when I come to you with my skill set, you know,
Hmm.
I'm representing myself. So, that's what's all about having my own consultant thing, doing the record label. I also, this is something I don't even know if I put it, shared with you. I work for a company called Nartiques as an art
No.
director. It's a company that deals with ship memorabilia, and I don't talk about
Okay.
this too often, but I'm an art director. I use my experiences with being a curator for gallery art shows
Okay.
and doing archival memorabilia for historical exhibits at UB. I
Hmm.
use that to work for a historical company that do work with actually ship
Yes.
memorabilia, and they ship all over the world, and it's old money. Sometimes you got to get a gig working with old money because old money is always good.
Right.
I'm
I
not gonna
get it.
comp. So that's who I am. That's what I do. It's
Yeah.
eh, I live in Baltimore and I stay in Baltimore and I invest in Baltimore artists.
Yeah,
That's what I.
because Baltimore, we have enough talent here to I mean they call Atlanta the Black Hollywood,
Yeah,
right? But we have just as much talent here in Baltimore to create something like that here. I don't want to call it Hollywood or Black Hollywood. I want to think of another name, but we have as much talent here, black talent here, to build our own, big entertainment conglomerate or whatever you want to call
Hmm.
it.
Yeah,
Troy
it's
said, well, Stacy said, Troy, I'm waiting on the shirt. OYOA. Oh, yeah, own your own ass. Well, you left the B out.
oh yeah, oh
You left the B out, Stacy. It's supposed to be own your own black ass.
okay. OYOBA. Okay. You know what? Hey, I'm
Right.
an entrepreneur. I'll get out there. I may have a t-shirt line coming out soon, the
Yes,
hats and t-shirts.
I would definitely buy that. I would definitely buy own your own black ass. Yes, I would.
Ooh, okay. I just got an idea, but I'm not going to share it publicly because I don't want nobody to
Right.
steal it. I'll talk to you
Yeah.
privately about it. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
got an idea. Visually, it just okay. It'll have to be you, Stacy, and myself, the three of us.
Okay.
But I got an idea. But
All
yeah,
right.
that's what it is. That's about when artists get together and we chop it up, and
Mm-hmm.
we make things happen. And like
Yeah.
I said, I'm always bringing props. This is a program I did July 1990. It was a show called Blast from the Past. It's a play that
Okay.
Robert Chu and I wrote. I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know if I still got the script, but I would love to bring it back. Um, but I go back to 1990. It's the first time I ever put up my own money to
Right.
produce a show independently. It's
Okay.
2021. I'm still putting up my own money to produce shows independently. You know,
That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm not gonna get sucked in by a machine.
Right.
Now,
You
you know,
shouldn't.
now go ahead.
No, because I've had some other black people tell me, that they agree with stuff that I say, but they're like, you should stop being so outspoken about being pro-black because you don't want to make it to a certain level, and you make it to a certain level, and they see the so-called powers that be see something that you said, and they decide to take it back from you. I'm like, I'm not worried about them taking anything from me. That's why I don't want them to have that power over me in the first place,
But see,
to
that's
be able to
you.
take anything from
That's
me. Right.
you. That's your light. You can't diminish your light because of
Mm-hmm.
what somebody else think. I mean, we're all different. I mean, I think politically, you and I probably would handle things differently, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, we're not going to diminish our light.
Right.
Okay, I don't think I'm as outspoken as you are about some things, because you come bam,
Yes.
but at the same time, that's you, and you
Right.
should never change that. I mean,
Well, I'm not. They act like some black folks act like I'm out here saying that I want somebody to go kill somebody that's Caucasian. I'm not. I've never said anything like that. I've never encouraged violence towards anybody. All I say is that I put black people first.
right. And
Period.
see, well, I'll say this to you: probably the Hollywood system will
Mm-hmm.
never hire you for major movies
Mm-hmm.
because of that. They will try to change you. And you ain't going
Mm-hmm.
to change that. So you got to do
No.
your own way. Like when you produce your own films and you get
Right.
them out there to go to film festivals and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
But see, and that's the thing where the machine can't control you. And they,
Right.
they get upset. They get the fact that they can't control you, it's like, hey,
Good. Because I don't want the machine to own me. I
yeah,
don't. I don't want them to have that control over me and be scared that they're going to take something from me just because I speak up for our people.
yeah, because
Yeah.
that's what happens. With a lot of artists, they get the notoriety, they get the money and all that, and the moment when they decide to be themselves and say what they want to say, the machine take them down. I call it
Right.
the machine because that's what it
Yeah.
is.
That's
But
exactly what it is.
so it is now. Mm-mm.
But this has been a powerful episode. So many gems were dropped by you. And, I contributed something, but
And here,
uh,
well, no. I mean, I'm happy to be on your format, because the thing about it is, you get a chance to sit down with people, and a lot of times things are so structured where people can't speak their minds, and you get
right,
to connect with people. So anybody who's listening, we get to connect with them. They connect with us, and sometimes I've seen it. It's so controlled,
mhm.
if, in
Well,
terms of
I wanted the C note to be very relaxed and conversational, not something so rigid and you know.
Well,
stuck.
you
Yeah.
get to meet people exactly who they are. That's
Hmm.
the thing, and I'm glad that you're doing that. I mean, more people need to do
Thank
this,
you.
and I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have the patience.
Well,
I
see,
wouldn't have the patience to do it.
with me, this is me also stepping out of my comfort zone because I'm normally a quiet, laid back person. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times when people find out that I am an actor and I sing and stuff like that, some people are very shocked because normally when they see me out and about, I'm like a wallflower.
Hmm.
I'm very quiet and laid back. And doing this podcast, creating and hosting this podcast has made me, become more confident, and because I'm not a big talker normally. So
Hmm.
this has helped me to converse back and forth with
You could
people.
have fooled me.
See?
No,
you are you I don't talk a lot actually.
no, but
Awesome
see,
interview. Yeah, thank you, Troy. Kenneth said it's an awesome interview.
thank you,
Thank you,
Kenneth.
Troy. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Nikki. Thank
definitely,
you, Nikki.
yes, thank everybody who stayed here the whole time with us, and Stacy and Nikki, and there's some people that you saw that I can't see on my
Hmm.
side, but I thank everybody for supporting, and definitely want to have you back again. Like you said, when you start bringing the show together, this new show that you're working on, the futuristic Afro futuristic show,
Hmm.
we can have like two other people on here with us. So
Well, let me
definitely when you
let me tell you real quick. This show is going to be fun. It's not going to have anything to do with
Mhm.
race relationships.
Yeah, I know,
In
I
terms of
know.
it's going to be when we come out of this, we need
Yeah,
something where you could go to the theater and you could just sing along and clap your hands and enjoy and not feel. We got to keep our eye. You keep your third eye open.
right,
I
right.
always say that keep it. Sometimes my third eye move from here to back here, so I
Hmm.
see what's going on all the way around me. But I want to create something where people just can just smile the whole time and just bop their head and just because we're
I
gonna
get
need
it.
that. We're gonna
Yeah,
need
I
that.
get it. Especially us as
And laugh. Yep, Stacy, and
yeah,
laugh.
especially us. Thank you to Stacy, and especially us as Black people, because living under this system is very stressful
Yeah,
to our people, and
yeah.
we have to laugh sometimes. Like I posted a clip. I think it's from that show Them, where
Hmm.
that white woman said something to the black lady when she was with her daughter, and she slaps the white woman. Is
Oh
that is
yeah, I
that
saw.
from Them? And I
Yeah.
posted it. I posted it on my wall because I thought it was funny. I got a
Hmm.
little tickle out of seeing the white woman get slapped. And so
Yeah.
somebody came through on my post and said, that's not real. We need to be thinking about this and that. I said, well, it's not that I was taking it seriously. It's just something that made me laugh for a second because
Yeah.
I need to laugh sometimes because I was at a point like back in February of 2020 where my nerves were like really on edge
Hmm.
because I take what's going on with our people very seriously. I
Hmm.
take wanting us to be okay and be protected as a people seriously. So, and a lot of times sometimes I get attacked, not all the time, but sometimes I get attacked by other black people for wanting the best for black people
Yeah.
because our
That's
people,
that's what Nikki's
yeah,
saying. We need a space to be ourselves freely.
right,
Yep.
right. And so, um, because we've been trained to be protective, to be more protective of others than our own people. And so sometimes I get attacked by other black people for putting black people first. And so there was one day last year when my nerves were like really on edge.
Hmm.
And I was like really tense. And I had to keep breathing in and out. And I don't know what would have happened if didn't have two friends that I was able to talk to like 2 or 3 in the morning on the phone.
Yeah.
And I got like really emotional and I was crying on the phone and everything because I take what's going on with our people very seriously. I want us to be okay. I want us to be safe. I want us to
Right.
be free. And I want future generations of our children, black babies, to not have to keep dealing with this stuff. Like
Hmm.
there's a phrase that I use. I don't I don't want us to pass on the torch of oppression to another generation of our black children. I want us to be able to um, pass on
Stacy.
empowerment to our people. Well, we're about to go to Stacy,
But let me
but
say this: this
yeah,
show that I'm going to do, it's going to
mm,
be a hug because a lot of
Hmm.
people are missing hugs right now.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there are a lot of people suffer from that. It's just like it's gonna make you smile. It's gonna be a hug. It's gonna
Hmm.
make you want to get up and dance. All of it's gonna
Yeah.
make you laugh. All of that
Hmm.
stuff. And I'm not gonna make you deal with race.
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
it's just gonna be one big party.
Right.
You know, and that's it. We're just gonna party.
Hmm.
You know, so that's it. I'm done.
Okay. Well, thank you, Troy, and definitely we look to have you come back for your when you're planning that show when you have more of the team together.
Oh
The
yeah.
show the show I will be in, the futuristic show.
Okay.
I want to be a part of that. Definitely, I'm claiming that. So
Okay.
I look
Get
forward to.
get ready then. Cause
Okay,
okay.
all right, I will. I will. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for everybody who tuned in. And I love you, Troy, and I
Love you
appreciate you
too.
greatly. Thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you soon. Whenever you want to talk to me and Stacy about that idea that we
Oh
can't
yeah.
discuss on here. So, all
Oh
right,
yeah. All righty.
all right then. Bye
All
bye.
right. Love you too, Nikki. Y'all take care.
Love y'all.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Peace.
Peace. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That was the season finale, season one finale of the C Note. I will be back probably in June, around Juneteenth, to do something in conjunction with that to start back with my regular episodes. But in the meantime, I will be back on here doing impromptu interviews with the cast for my upcoming film, which I should be shooting in June or July, We Brothers. So thank you all for supporting, and I love you now. Bless you.